Welcome to the TypeScript Node Express and MongoDB tutorial. In the previous two sessions, we discussed the project structure. We uh, we understand the project structure. I created the basic Express server and also created the connection between the Express server and the MongoDB. So in this session, I will create this application error.ts file base application error class, uh, creating the error middleware and also the request middleware, and also the user models, and add the basic routes to get all users from the user documents. So let's get started. Now, if I come to the explanation, the application error class allows to create custom error object with optional message and the status properties. So here you can see the application error that extends the built-in error class. Uh, Here we have the message string message which defaulted to the application error, and the status defaulted to the 500 status code, which is the internal server error. So the constructor accepts two optional parameters, the message and the status. So it's optional. Uh, if a message is provided when creating an instance, it will be used to set the message property of the instance. Similarly, if a status is provided, it will be used to set the status property of the instance. Next, I will create the index file from which it will be actually exported. Next, I will go to the app.ts file and create the error middleware. Here you can see the middleware function app.use taking the four parameters: error, application error, the request, response, and the next middleware function. So basically, error, this parameter expected to the instant of the application error. Request is the HTTP request, response is the HTTP response, and next is the callback functions that passes control to the next middleware in the chain. So in the error handling, the middleware first checks if the response headers have already been sent. Uh, if the headers have already been sent, it means a response has already been to send a response. In such cases, it's called next error, passing the error to the next middleware in the chain to handle it. If the response headers has not been sent, then the middleware proceeds to handle the error. It sets the HTTP status code, whatever code it's getting. If it's not present, then it sets to the 500 internal server error. Then it constructs the JSON response with two properties. The error, if the node environment is development, the error property will contain the error object, and otherwise it will be undefined in case of the production. And it's also sending the message. So so this restore status.json basically uh, send the JSON response back to the client. The response will include the appropriate status code error message and this JSON things. Next, I will create the request middleware, the custom middleware for handling HTTP requests. So here I use this middleware function, the relog request handler, just for the logging purpose. Just logging, or later on we will add more functionality to this relog request handler function. It takes the single arguments, which is the request handler. A request handler in Express.js is a function that handles HTTP request. The purpose of the review is to wrap around another request handler and add logging functionality before calling the original handler. So when a new request handler function, when the function will be executed when the middleware is used in the Express.js route. So after logging the request information, the middleware proceeds to call the original request handler provided as an argument. So by invoking this handler function, it actually uh, passes the control to the original request handler to process the request, and after it's returning the results of the calling the original request handler. After this, I will create the user model with Mongoose. So in the previous session, we already installed the Mongoose Mongoose package but we didn't use yet. So establish the connection. We use the MongoDB driver, Node.js built-in MongoDB driver. So I will make some changes here. I will use Mongoose to connect to the database. So you can see we remove the MongoDB dependencies and we establish the connection to the MongoDB database by using the Mongoose library by using the connect and the connection. So we just have to call the connect by passing the Mongo URL, and to close the connection we need to connection.close. Okay, so then next I have to test it if it's working properly or not. So you can see it's logging the message connected to MongoDB. So it's connected successfully using the Mongoose. Okay. Next, I will add the user model. According to the project structure, we have the models, and inside the models directory, we will have the user.ts. So this file actually defines defining a Mongoose model for a user entity in a MongoDB database. So Mongoose is an object data modeling library for the MongoDB. First, I imported the document model schema and the model model function. These models are the types are essential for defining and working with the Mongoose models. So first, this iUser is defined. This interface extends document, which is built in Mongoose type representing a document in a MongoDB collection. The iUser interface defines the shape of a user document with several properties like email, password, first name, last name, created on and updated on. Next, we interface iUser model, which extends the model iUser. This interface represents the Mongoose model for the iUser interface. It will be used to interact with the MongoDB collection for the user documents. Then we have the schema definition. The schema is created using the schema constructor provided by the Mongoose. The schema defines the structure of the user documents to be stored in the database. Each fields in the schema correspond to the property in the iUser interface. The email field defined as the required string and must be unique. Password is the type string and the required to same for the first name, last name, and the updated on I defaulted to the current date. Next, the model creation. The model function is used to create the Mongoose model named user based on the schema. The model is strongly typed using the iUser interface for the documents and the iUser model interface uh, for the model itself. Next, I will create the controller, the user controller here. So here I am importing the request handler to get the HTTP request, and here I am fetching the list of users and sending as a response. It will send the array of the users, and I am providing this the relog request handler middleware, which will log the in request URL and the message. Next, I will mount these routes in the app.ts file. Before mounting, we need to create the route file, the routes.ts inside the src. So here I am using the router middleware from the Express, and I am getting the user controller. I am calling the user controller.all. Mhm. Now I will test this route. Before running the server, I will check the MongoDB. If you see the MongoDB, we don't have any database. We don't have any database ts underscore node, and we don't have, as usual, we don't have any collection. So I will go to run the server. It will create the database from the .env. It will take the ts node name, and also it will create the collection from the model. So let's run it. So if you see, it's printing the log level info connected to the MongoDB, And here if I check the log file, we have the log is connected to the MongoDB. And if I go to the Mongo Compass and refresh, you can see a TS node database created, and inside TS node we have the users collection. We don't have any data, so it will definitely give us the empty array if I call the routes. So let's jump into the Postman and call the route 3001 slash API slash v1 slash user. I send the request and you can see the user is empty. Now I have a seed data. I am importing it ts node user.json. So the test at the test.com, first name last name, we have this seed data. Now it will give me this object if I hit the request slash API slash v1 users. So send the request and you can see it's giving me the email test at the test.com test and all the things. So, and if I check the log here, so it's called the users here and it's also called the users here successfully. So we added the get all users route. In the next session, we will add the authentication, the registration and the login, and we will give the authentication authorization in this route, so that if the user logged in, then only he can get the list of users. So that's all for this session. Thank you.